Welcome to Pretty Lies and Alibis. Let's seek the truth and travel the long road to justice together. What you know, Alibis, welcome to another episode of Pretty Lies and Alibis. I'm Gigi. Good to have you here. We're going to break down part 2 of day 11 of testimony in the Chad Daybell trial. But first, you know the drill. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit subscribe if you haven't already. Like the video, share it with your friends, and you can ring my bell if you want notifications of when I post new content. Just click that little bell icon. Music fact of the day. Huey Lewis and the News first wanted to call themselves American Express, but the record label thought that might not be a good idea, so they named themselves Huey Lewis and the News, which is a nod towards Huey's passion for television news. So part 1 today, we had the big revelation that by all means, it seems Tammy knew about the light dark ratings. But I have to say, I've been thinking about this since we went to lunch. And here's the thing. I think this could shoot Pryor in the foot by bringing this up, because in his openings, he talked about how Chad was just totally bamboozled by Lori Vallow, taken under her spell. But then we see somebody like Tammy Daybell, who probably was not raised to believe this stuff. I think it shows the jury the influence Chad had on everybody. Tammy, his children, Lori, Alex. I think it reiterates the state's point. Chad was the mastermind behind all this. This doesn't make Tammy any less of a victim that she is, and my heart breaks for her and her family. I also think that if you look at the emails Tammy was sending her son, it's clear this was not a new concept. These kids have probably been raised a lot of their life believing in this stuff, so it kind of makes sense as to why they still support their dad. It's just something I've been thinking about. Another thing I want to point out, when the investigator read off the names of people that were associated with these chats about the light dark stuff, their daughter Leah was not named in that. So I do want to put that out there. It's not all Chad's kids, according to what the investigator read out. We're still on direct, but can I just tell you guys, Lindsey Blake gave a masterclass today in how to do redirect. We're going to get to that. But we do need to jump back into where Pryor was. After lunch, Pryor talks about an email into Tammy's Gmail from Julie Rowe. The email says her stake president has asked her to stop selling her books. She told her stake president she did not have the rights to those books. Chad does. Her stake president asked her to contact Chad to ask they stop publishing the books. She said she has copied the stake president in this email and will send him Chad's reply. The stake's president said he will also contact Chad's stake president. There's an email from Tammy to her youngest son, Mark, on March 31st, 2019. Dad and Garth are doing a C2 5K, which is a couch to 5K. Pryor says this indicates you had 3 couch potatoes in the Daybell house. There's an objection, which is sustained. The email goes on to say, we've done the first week twice because, quite frankly, I didn't feel ready to move on to the second week. But it should be good for us. Okay, good for me. I have to say, I admire you for running track. Starting from nothing is not easy. Pryor asks, who is starting from nothing? And the witness says there's nothing in there to indicate who she's talking about. In another email from Tammy to Mark, this is April 14th of 2019. She says, I tripped over the duck gate and landed hard on my right hand and the bucket of eggs I was carrying. It hurt so bad I just lay in the driveway and cried. I got up, cleaned up the egg mess with my left hand, and went in the house to find Dad. Luckily, I seem to have only bruised it. Of course, Dad blessed it, so it may have been worse. Pryor asked, what's the evidentiary value of why the investigator chose this email out of everything he read? The witness says that Tammy had a hurt wrist instead of a possible fainting spell. She just tripped over a duck gate and fell and hurt her wrist. It was relevant to him to put that in his report to show it was a trip and fall. Pryor points out the whole email was not provided today. He asked if there's any further explanation of what caused Tammy to trip, and the witness is like, Tammy tripped over the duck gate? Pryor asked, did she trip from a dizzy spell or a seizure? And the witness says, well, this says I tripped over a duck gate, so she tripped over a duck gate, causing herself to fall. Pryor says, okay, so we don't know if she just ran into the duck gate or if some medical condition that caused her to trip over the duck gate. That is objected to and sustained. Pryor says, we don't know all the reasons that centered over the trip over the duck gate. The witness says in this email, I would take it as she tripped over the duck gate. In an email, April 28th, 2019, Tammy to Mark, Dad is in Houston and won't be back until Monday night, so you'll just have to talk to me tomorrow. The witness says the significance in this email is it correlates that Chad was in Houston and Tammy was home alone. There is an email about a zone conference. Pryor asked the witness if he knows what that is, and he doesn't. Tammy asks Mark if the tapeworm medicine is working. Tammy says, I haven't slept well since Dad has been gone. I hope to sleep well tonight. June 30th, Pryor brings in some emails from Tammy about a problem with raccoons. Chad shot one, and she said it's buried in the compost heap. He shows another photo of a raccoon in a trap, and there are some kittens looking at it. Then he brings up the text from Chad to Tammy on the day Tylee was buried. He's just trying to say to the jury they had a raccoon problem. Lindsey Blake covers this on redirect, though. Pryor shows a photo of Tammy and Chad in an email that Tammy sent and says, Dad has lost a lot of weight. He just doesn't seem to eat much anymore, and he's exercising. Yeah, because Chad was getting ready for his wedding in November. He got a little glow up with Lori. Look at the pictures before Tammy died and after. Chad looks completely different. But Pryor points out above the photo of Chad and Tammy sent in that email is a photo of a trap with a raccoon in it. He asks the witness if he sees the raccoon, and at first he doesn't. He says, I see kittens, but he does eventually see the raccoon and points it out to the jury. He also pulls up that photo of Tammy and Chad that was sent in that. It's from July 7th of 2019, so just days before Charles Vallow's murder. August 4th, 2019, Tammy says, Dad is in Arizona. He is speaking to a small group Sunday night and at a girls' camp on Monday night. He flies home on Tuesday. Pryor says this is the August 4th meeting with Gibb, Lori, and all the ladies who met that Sunday at Lori's house. This email is from Tammy to Mark. This is on September 15th, 2019. This is after Tylee's murder and after she's been buried on Chad's property. She said, this was taken Saturday. Joe planted potatoes in his garden. I'd been sick all day in bed with a really bad cold. But I put on a hat and went over to pose for this picture, so it looks like I'm really an Idahoan. But I went right back to bed after we took it. I'm still sick today, and my nose won't stop running. I will go to work tomorrow, though, because I'm helping with testing, and getting sub work would be more trouble than it's worth. Pryor points out this is 3 weeks before Tammy passed away, and she's saying she's sick and made herself go to work. There's an objection. The prosecution said counsel is testifying that is sustained. Pryor reads an email from Tammy's dad to Mark. This is when Tammy came to visit. The deal with that, Chad had a vision from Tammy's deceased grandmother that she needed to go visit her parents in Utah. Typically, Tammy didn't like driving long distances alone, but he brings in this email and asks the witness, what is the relevance to this in the investigation? He said that Tammy didn't drive long distances alone, and the grandpa emailed Mark and told him she drove all by herself on October 6th. 2019, 3 days before the attempt on her life, 13 days before she would be killed. Pryor says Tammy didn't like to drive alone because of balance problems, and there is an objection that's sustained. Pryor asked the witness if he's aware Tammy didn't like to drive because of medical concerns she had for herself. The witness says he's not aware of that. There was an email from Tammy. It says, I went to Springville October 6th, drove all by myself. I'm a big girl now. Pryor asked if there's any indication that before this, she didn't like to drive. And the witness says not long distances. Redirect, Lindsey Blake, lady boss, bringing it home for the state, really reminding this jury who is at the wheel throughout all of this. She says, emails about light and dark. Did you learn who labeled people as light and dark? Chad. There was an email. Chad needed to do work on Mark's camera because it was cursed. The indication was Chad had to do the work to get that out. Chad labeled 12-year-olds as dark. You were asked if those kids are still alive. Are they? The witness says, I hope so. Lindsey Blake, were those Lori's children? Were they obstacles for Chad and Lori to be together? No. In the email, March 31st, 2019, Tammy talks about getting ready for a 5K. Did that indicate Tammy was active? Yes. The email, April 28th, about Chad being in Houston. The witness says the significance was they knew Chad went to see Lori, and Tammy emailing Mark saying Chad was in Houston confirmed that. Tammy said she hadn't slept since Dad's been gone. At this point, Chad's in Houston with Lori. The witness says yes. She mentions the raccoon emails. The first one, June 30th, 2019. There's a mention of a flashlight. Would that indicate the raccoon was shot at night? Yes. By the way, raccoons are nocturnal. July 7th, 2019 email. There's the photo of the raccoon in a trap. Do you see an email about a raccoon in September of 2019? No. Tammy emailed Mark 2 times about a raccoon, but none in September. The witness says no. August 4th, there's an email about Chad being in Arizona. Tammy indicates that Chad is at a girls' camp. The witness says at a conference at Lori's house with her. Prosecutor Blake points out the email about Tammy being sick in September, but asks the witness, were there any emails about her being sick in October? No. They talk about the email on October 6th when Tammy visited Utah. Were there any medical concerns that you learned of that would keep her from driving? No. Who encouraged Tammy to go to Utah? Chad. Regan Price describes a lady trying to steal her dog, but did she mention the lady having a firearm or being dressed all in black? No. The call on the attempt came in at 9:15 p.m. And this is October. And at 9 o'clock, is it daylight outside? The witness says it's usually around dusk. She says if Deputy Cannon said he never searched for paintball guns with Tammy, would you have any reason to dispute that? No. They talk about these supposed searches for a paintball gun and airsoft gun. From your review of the October 9th investigation, did she ever produce a photo and say this is the one? No. So what does Lindsey Blake do? She throws up a photo of a paintball gun and Alex Cox's gun and shows looks really similar. They point out Alex was in the area in the day of the attempt and then the night she was killed 2.6 miles away. They go back to the whooshing and the popping sound. And she asked, if a gun misfires, does it make a sound? And he said there are various sounds a gun could make if it jams or misfires. She talks about the young man, the teenager that was mentioned as suspicious. She asked if there were any reports of a teenager pointing a gun at anyone or anyone else coming face to face with a masked gunman. No. She shows the Facebook message by Tammy telling people to watch out. She also points out Tammy said the scared part came after when she thought about what could have happened. And Tammy saying she did not want to go to Zumba because she didn't want to be out after dark. The prosecutor says, does this indicate she was scared about what happened? Yes. She plays the 911 call, and Tammy has said that the person was holding the gun like a rifle shooting at me, but nothing came out. Does that indicate more than someone just pointing a gun? Yes. She nails it here. The defense talked about hunting season. Would shooting through a Dodge Dakota have anything to do with hunting season? No. She's referencing those Google searches on Alex's account. After Alex shot Charles, did Chad and Lori maintain a relationship? Yes. Chad was there August 4th in Arizona. Would that lead you to believe Chad was scared of Alex or Lori? No. Were there any reports by Fremont County that Chad reported he was scared of anyone or he had been shot at? No. What is the connection between Alex and Tammy? The witness says Chad. Mic drop. Boom. This is how you redirect. Just brilliant job by Lindsey Blake, bringing that jury back home and showing them what the big picture is. Pryor, of course, wanted to recross. Boyce said it was very limited. Pryor says that hunting is long range and you use a rifle. If you're trying to hurt someone at close range, you'd use a handgun. And the witness says rifles can be used at close range to hurt someone. Talking about the Dodge Dakota searches, someone talked about putting a bullet through the window and the thickness of the metal. With Mr. Daybell owning a Dodge Dakota, the target was someone in the Daybell family. Any indication that Chad had access to the Homer J. Maximus account? No. Any information that Chad had any knowledge Alex was looking to shoot a Dodge Dakota Mr. Daybell owned? No. That was it. Can't even say enough how impressed I was with Lindsey Blake on that redirect. The next witness, really quick, Spencer Cook works in IT for the Salem School District. He was asked to see if there were any received emails from Charles Vallow, June 29, 2019. He found one in the archive server. They show the email that was sent from Charles to Tammy. That email was opened, deleted, and the email address blocked, meaning any future email Charles would have sent would not have come through, and there was no cross on that. I've always thought with Charles texting Lori that he was going to email Tammy I'm sure she gave, and I fully believe 110% chat went in there, opened that email, deleted it, and blocked that sender. That's it for today. Tomorrow is going to be a short court day, according to Judge Boyce. I will not put out an update episode, most likely until Sunday. If anything major happens, I'll tweet it out or put it on social media or do a YouTube short when I land. But we will still have the live stream up and running tomorrow for you guys to watch and chat. Thanks to everybody who's joined in. It's been some great chat. We have a good group and appreciate all y'all. Once I make it up there and get ready for trial, I'll be dropping some of my observations in the live chat on YouTube as the trial's going on. So if you want some insider information of how things are looking inside the courtroom, follow along there. Till next week, we will see you.